Welcome back to Titan Academy. In this video, we will cover how and when to use a push find in Titan Forms version 2.0. I've got set up here a couple of examples in my project. In both examples, we will find a contact record based on an email, and then we will add a file as an attachment to that contact. This is using two different methodologies. On the left side, which I have labeled get then push, this is probably the most commonly used method of finding a record and then updating it accordingly. I would go into Salesforce. I have a get on the contact set to search for a contact where the email is equal to the email field. And then I have this push created to create a record in the files object, also known as content version, associated with the newly created contact. What we've done here when we find the contact is to map that contact's record ID into a variable that we created called contact ID. This stores that contact ID in the local browser. But what if we want to locate that record and add an updated child record without storing the contact ID in the local browser? There, we would use a push find. Here, I've set up a push on the contact object, and we've selected the action find. If there are multiple matches, take the ID from the first record, and if no match is found, we want to skip rather than create. The conditions are set as emails equal to the second email field. And on mapping, we haven't mapped anything because we don't need to. What we did subsequently was add a child push. That's done just by clicking on these little three dots, add child. The child push is for the files object. And here we will create a record. The first published location ID will be in reference to that contact push find, the contact ID that was located, and we upload the file. This way, when I press this update button, Titan will locate a record associated with the email that I create, add the file, but all without returning any information to the browser to be stored in a variable. So let's see how that works. If I go ahead and click preview, first let's run the get then push. We will search for a contact with this email, jane@gmail.com. We'll add a file. We run this. We get a confirmation message. First, the search ran to find that contact. Then we assigned that contact ID into this local variable, contact ID. Then we ran a push to create a files record associated with this contact. And if I come back into Salesforce, go to my contact, I see that that file has been added here. But we've stored that record ID in the browser. What if we don't want to do that? Let me just go ahead and refresh this page. I'll look back at the debug and confirm that the contact ID is now empty. So let's run the push find and add a file. I run this push find. We get a confirmation message. If I look back at the debug, we can see that contact ID variable is still blank because we didn't return anything to the browser. If I come into my Salesforce, refresh the tab, we see that that file was added without ever returning any information to be stored in the local browser. That is a push find, and that's how it's done.